Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday evening Parent Academy webinar session. Thank you for joining us. And again, we're excited to have you as audience listeners and participants. My name is Tina Folston Hayes. I'm the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public Schools, and I welcome you this evening. Tonight, we will receive some helpful information regarding substance use and vaping from our partners at parentguidance.org with Miss LaVonna Jackson. And just before we get started, I would like to review a few housekeeping elements. Please keep your microphones on mute through the duration of the presentation. We will be monitoring your questions and we will answer them at the conclusion. Ms. Jackson also will use a option called Menti, and she'll go over that with you so that way you'll be able to log in and join through the way that she normally does it. But the Q&A feature is still available for you. Please note that all Parent Academy webinars are recorded, closed caption, and they're posted for later review or re-review for anyone that could not join us live tonight. If you have any additional questions for the Parent Academy, please feel free to email me at parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, and we'll get to those questions and those answers momentarily. And without further ado, we want to go ahead and introduce you to Ms. Jackson. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I am so glad that you guys are here tonight. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get started. If you are joining us live, we are going to go ahead and start with Menti. So you can scan this QR code and that will take you right to Menti. That's going to be our interactive portion of the session. So you'll be answering questions and things like that. It is all anonymous. So we'll wait just a minute, see if anybody hops in. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, welcome to the Mental Health Series hosted by parentguidance.org. My name's LaVonna, and I'm here to lead you through today's session. I'd like to express my gratitude to your district administrators for introducing parentguidance.org to your school and arranging discussions aimed at assisting you in supporting your child's well-being. To ensure a safe and private environment that fosters open sharing, we've turned off audio and video access for everyone. Additionally, if you'd like to mention, we are recording the session for future reference, and if you know someone who missed out, they can catch up on this valuable information, or if you've seen the recording, you're welcome to share the recording with anyone that would find it valuable. If you're just joining us, if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see where you can join in Menti. Just go to menti.com and put in that code, and you'll be able to interact with us. So we have two therapists, Shannon Clausen and Dr. Kevin Skinner, who helped create today's presentation. They'll be presenting information to us today based on their research and experience working with families and teens. Shannon Clausen is a licensed marriage and family therapist who specializes in emotionally focused therapy. Dr. Kevin Skinner is the clinical director at parentguidance.org, and he holds a doctorate degree in marriage and family therapy. So today, we're going to address concerns around substance use, the health issue from vaping and possible mental and emotional influences on your child. We'll discuss some of the facts behind e-cigarettes and behavior changes to watch for in your child. Shannon will also discuss how to talk to your teen and signs to watch for if you suspect your child is addicted to substances. So let's start off by getting to know you better. What age ranges do your children fit into? To share this information, open up in Menti on your phone or your computer, and then select the ages of your kiddos. Do you have children in elementary school, maybe middle school or high school? Or do you have older kids? Be a mix of all of them. Feel free to select all that apply to you. All right. I see older and more middle school. If I were taking this survey, I would be choosing older. My youngest is 21, then I have a 24 and a 26-year-old. So thank you for those responses. This is how we're going to interact throughout the session. So we'll see each other's responses as they pop up. Today, we want to share facts with you. So we're going to start out by hearing from Shannon, who is a therapist at Addo Recovery. She will share some alarming statistics about teens and vaping. And to ensure that you're fully immersed in the virtual experience, you can confirm your audio connection. You can just give us a thumbs up. And as I mentioned before, your participation is completely anonymous and greatly appreciated.
Hi, I'm Shannon Clausen. I'm a marriage and family therapist at Addo. And today we're going to be talking about vaping, teen vaping, and how to figure out is your child vaping? Are they addicted to vaping? And what can you do about it? Where can you turn to for answers and support? The number of teens vaping is increasing at an alarming rate. A recent CDC report estimates that 27.5% of teens have used e-cigarettes in the last 30 days, which is up from 20.8% in 2018. That's an alarming statistic. And the way vaping is being marketed to our teens presents it as something that's fun and do it with your family and do it with your friends. And these ads would also have you believe that it's not that dangerous and that it is healthier than cigarette smoking. And that is absolutely not the case. Most vaping pods contain nicotine that is more concentrated than in cigarettes. For example, one Juul pod contains as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes. That is scary as a parent. I remember the first time that I came to realize that my son was vaping. It was early in the morning and I had gone down to his bedroom and he was asleep. And I found this, I didn't even know what it was, this tool or instrument in his hands. And I thought it was drugs or something. And I was able to pick it up. I happened to have a therapy appointment that day. I took it to my therapist and I said, "What is this?" And he said, "Oh, that's an e-cigarette." And I was scared. I was quite alarmed. I didn't know how to talk to my 18-year-old son about it at the time. And so I hope that some of the things that we're going to talk about right now will help you be better prepared if you should ever encounter a moment like that.
So by now, you've probably been around someone who vapes, but maybe you didn't even realize it. Vaping is definitely easier to hide than smoking cigarettes, mainly due to the fact that the odor that is emitted, it's like smells good. So it's marketed to our teens as fun, but the fact is it is highly addictive and should be taken very seriously. Research shows that e-cigarettes are being targeted toward two distinct consumer groups: the committed smoker and young social smokers or non-smokers. On the parentguidance.org website, we have an Ask a Therapist section where parents can post a question for our team of therapists to review and answer. One parent asked the following question: "We caught our 16-year-old son vaping and smoking pot. He says it's no big deal and doesn't know why we're so upset. What do we do?" And many parents are being faced with this "it's no big deal" type of response from their teens today. Teens reach a stage in their development where they're becoming more independent and the influence their parents have on them starts to change. So before addressing difficult topics with your child, it's important to think about the influence that you truly have on them. So let's hear what Dr. Skinner has to say about this concern and how parents should respond.
Hey, thank you for asking your question here at Parent Guidance. I'm Dr. Kevin Skinner. You say that you caught your 16-year-old vaping and smoking pot these days. it's no big deal and doesn't know why we're so upset, or he says it's no big deal and why are we so upset? What should we do? I think, first of all, the question that I ask any parent is, can you have influence on your child? Because our children often, as they get older, 16, 17 years old, they kind of become a little bit more self-focused, and they see the world around their lens. And truthfully, they're at the stage where it's like, I'm going to be myself. I got my own identity. I'm going to be me. So I wonder if you can have influence or not. And that's the first question: can I have influence? If I can have influence, how am I going to communicate to my child in a way that lets him know my concerns? I think it's important that you do some education, if at all possible. Do some research on vaping, and ask him to watch that with you, and then see if you can get him to open up. I think you, as a parent, have to be open about the possibility that you might not be able to have a lot of influence here. And so the only way we find that we have influence is we can develop a relationship first. If we can have a connection, a conversation, without him feeling judged or, why are you so upset about this? But more of approaching this of, I'm trying to understand, help me understand. And then ultimately is the ability to say, here are some of my concerns. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to stop you, but I do have concerns. And I would let him know of your personal values, beliefs, and concerns, and let him know that this matters to you and that you care about him and you care about his health. And certainly the research is showing, especially with some vaping, that there's some significant things that are happening that I think if you do a little bit of research, you might be able to share that with your son and say, hey, here's some of the concerns. And the same thing with pot. I know it's growing in terms of its usage around the United States and Canada, but I think it's fair to say, we don't know the influence of this.
So Dr. Skinner brought up a very, very important points that I want you to ask yourself. Can you have an influence on your child? Do you have an open line of communication with them where you can talk openly about things? So we know the sooner we start talking to our child, the better. We know parents have more influence on their child in their younger years. There is a misconception that vapes are just flavors and steam. Not true. Vaping is highly addictive. At what age do you feel it's most appropriate to address vaping with your child? Okay, I see 5 to 10, 11 to 13. If you wait until your child is 13 to start talking about this stuff, they may be too late. By talking to them at a younger age, this is how you open those lines of communication and continue to have influence on your child's life. So the younger that you can start having conversations with your children, the more likely they are to have the tools and knowledge to make the right decision when they're faced with those opportunities. So next, Dr. Skinner explores the social aspect parents should consider if their teen is vaping, nicotine, or marijuana. So let's continue the discussion of this question with Dr. Skinner.
You also want to look at the friends that he's with, because we know that social influence has a big influence on our own children. So is there a group, or is he doing it by himself? Now, there's two important things here. If it's with a group, then there's a social expectation. If he's doing it by himself, he's probably coping with things that we don't know what those are, but he's coping with something that's going on. Is he being bullied? Is he being pressured? Is he being made fun of? Whatever the story may be, those are things that I would want to know in order to really provide the best support as possible. And again, there's one other part here I would say, my experience based upon conversations I've had is that individuals who are vaping, smoking pot, or something that happens to them is that they begin to either disconnect from certain groups or they connect with other groups. And I would want to make sure that we focus on the relationship, your relationship, and see if we can help him understand that, he can have relationships that are positive, and those relationships often they end because there's other problems that are going on.
So it's important to analyze your child's social circles. Have they had a shift in relationships, either joining a group or leaving a group that they used to be associated with? Dr. Skinner mentioned some people smoke pot or vape to calm their anxious feelings. So we're going to explore more about how to recognize if your child is vaping by analyzing their health issues, which may be giving you a sign. So let's go through some of those signs with Shannon Clausen.
So how do you know if your teen is vaping? Want to be aware of is their health condition. What's happening with their health? For example, you may notice that they are having increased cough, shortness of breath. They may be struggling with symptoms of bronchitis or increased mucus. Those can all be signs of vaping. Not that it necessarily is only vaping, but they are things to look for, to give consideration to. When heated, the vape juice turns into an aerosol, which contains the same toxic chemicals found in cigarette smoke. And when this is exposed to the lungs, it is toxic. Toxic particles, cancer-causing particles, are being ingested into the lungs. In addition, some other health concerns to look for, or maybe your teen is experiencing increased nosebleeds or thirsty, and even a change in their sleep patterns, can all be indications of vaping possibilities. Again, not that that would be the sole reason for those things, but it is something to consider. Another health issue to be concerned about is nicotine poisoning, or your teen becoming nic sick. Some of the symptoms to watch for related to this condition are abdominal cramps, agitation, restlessness or confusion, breathing difficulty, burning sensations in the mouth or drooling, seizures, fainting, or even coma, and headaches. Those are some things to watch for. If you notice those symptoms, talk to your teen. Ask them if they are aware that these things are happening, or talk to your teen's doctor. Those are some of the health issues you should be watching for related to teen vaping. Next, we're going to look at some of the common behavioral issues related to teen vaping.
So not only is vaping harmful to the user's lungs, secondhand emissions from e-cigarettes are harmful as well. So many people think that secondhand vapor is just water, but it couldn't be further from the truth. The vapor emitted when someone exhales contains a variety of dangerous substances. So it's important to talk to your child about the true side effects of these substances. They might be assuming that exhaled vape is just water, but educate your child about the reality of the side effects, including seizures, headaches, how it affects their brain development. Research shows it affects concentration and slows memory, and these can be long-term effects. I will point out, when my son was vaping, he had this little cough, and it was a little like all the time. And then we realized that was connected to it. He eventually stopped on his own. But in fact, the American Lung Association states that e-cigarettes use among youth has reached epidemic levels. According to a 2022 study, 20% of high school students and 5% of middle school students reported current e-cigarette use. In fact, more than 1 in 4 teenagers used e-cigarettes daily in 2022. That is over 2.5 million teenagers being affected. So for the past 60 years, we've known cigarettes were bad, but it's a different matter when it comes to vaping. Look at this graph that outlines the use of cigarettes compared to the e-cigarettes and Juuls. These are alarming, but real statistics. The struggle of this generation with vaping has become a crisis. According to the World Health Organization, there's been a small but steady decrease in the estimated number of cigarette smokers globally to just over 1 billion. But it's a different matter when it comes to vaping. In 2011, globally, there were just over 5 million vapers. Today, there are well over 55 million people using these products. After decades of research on cigarette smoking, we know the damage it causes, and vaping is no different. It isn't good for anyone's health. We're going to go back to the parent question from the Ask a Therapist response. So let's continue with Dr. Skinner's reply to that parent's concern about their child vaping. He's going to address reasons why they are choosing to smoke pot or vape. And if a teen is not using because of social influences, what about the mental or emotional reasons?
Is your son possibly vaping or using pot to slow down his mind? Is he anxious? Does he have ADHD? Now, the reason why I ask that is sometimes the anxious ADHD mind sometimes will use pot to slow down their mind because they're so anxious. So that's something that you might consider as you think about this. Now, obviously, if you can't have influence or if you're concerned at a deeper level, then I would consider professional counseling to make sure that you and your son are getting proper support to talk about this in a real meaningful way, because I think there is a proper reason and a reason to be concerned.
Most smokers say that they want to stop, but some continue smoking because it seems to relieve stress and anxiety. It is a common belief that smoking helps you to relax, but smoking actually increases anxiety and tension. Smokers are also more likely than non-smokers to develop depression over time. So if your child says it helps them relax, it's important to know that their substance use may be causing other issues such as like depression or anxiety. As parents, we try to be aware of what's going on in our homes and in our child's life. We want you to know the facts. What we are sharing today is only the very basic facts, and I encourage you to do more research if this topic is affecting you and your child. We want you to be informed and have conversations with your teen. So do you know the difference between e-cigarettes, Juul pods, and vape pens? E-cigarettes originally looked very similar to traditional cigarettes and were designed to be thrown away after usage. They're sometimes called e-cigs, e-hookahs, mods, vape pens, vapes, tank systems, and ENDSNs, which stands for Electronic Nicotine Delivery System. So Juul pods and vape pens are another form of an e-cigarette that are very popular devices. Let's liken them to computers. Mac and PC are both computers, but they deliver a different experience for the user. So when we're talking about Juul pods and vape pens, they're also the same, but provide a different experience to the users. Both Juul pods and vape pens contain nicotine, the highly addictive chemical also found in cigarettes. The most popular e-cigarette among teens is the Juul, J-U-U-L, because of its simplicity to use. All Juul pods contain some nicotine, something many youth don't realize. According to the manufacturer, one Juul pod may contain as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes. And Juul pods provide only 2 levels of nicotine options, 3% and 5%. To compare, a pack of cigarettes contains about 5% of nicotine. So Juul is very similar to a cigarette, and people looking to quit smoking, they prefer the Juul because of the high nicotine concentration levels. A vape pen, on the other hand, lends itself to more customization of the amount of nicotine and the flavor based on the preference of the user. So in the next few slides, I'm going to show you some common items that you may have seen around your home. On your phones in Menti, mark yes if you think this is a vape device, or no if you do not think it's a vape device. Starting with a flash drive. Next, let's see, highlighter marker. On your phones in Menti, mark yes if you think this is a vape device, or no if you do not think it's a vape device. Okay, we're split on this one. Good to know. Next one, a phone case. Okay. Next, an inhaler. Maybe your child has asthma, so you're used to seeing inhalers in their hand or on their dresser. Does it look like a vape device to you? Next one, a computer adapter looking plug. Okay, and last one, a hoodie. Of course, probably all of our children own a hoodie. Could this be a vape device? Okay. If you saw any of these items lying around your house, would you be suspicious? No, not necessarily. These appear to be common household items we are accustomed to seeing. There are also so many variations of vape pens. We could never show you all of the options here today, but believe it or not, all of these devices are vape devices. Today, they're designing them to be so discreet that it's difficult to identify, making our jobs as parents even that much harder. These devices can have the appearance of a flash drive, highlighters, a phone case, an inhaler, a hoodie, a watch, or even a Tic Tac container. Most e-liquids have flavors that they usually smell nice, like candy, mint, vanilla, fruit punch, strawberry, etc. At the movie theater recently and smelled this faint strawberry smell. Someone was vaping in the row behind me during the movie. So it's all around us, whether we realize it or not. Hang on. So now that you're learning to be a detective, watching for behavioral changes, health changes, and sniffing out pleasantly sweet odors, what else should you watch for? Have you noticed a change in your child's behavior? Shannon Clausen's going to talk to us about the behavioral issues nicotine causes that you want to consider when observing your child's behavior.
Because a teen's brain is not fully developed, they are highly vulnerable to nicotine.
Miss Lavana?
Also, be concerned about unusual smells that you might know.
Were you able to see the video okay or no?
No, it was chopping up and we couldn't hear really anything at all.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we can see if we can rewind it and see if it,
I can do that. Let me try that.
okay.
Because a teen's brain is not fully developed, they are highly vulnerable to nicotine. Nicotine is an ingredient in all vaping substances, and it can cause extreme agitation, anxiety, depression, and irritability. Also, nicotine can contribute to impulsive or reckless behaviors. And it also can interfere with your teen's ability to concentrate and their memory. Another behavioral change to look for is a sudden change in your child's academic performance at school. If their grades start to go down, if they're scoring lower on tests, maybe missing assignments, or even being tardy or absent from school, and this is uncharacteristic for them, that might be a sign that something could be going on, possibly vaping. Another consideration is if there's any change in your child's friends, their friend group, their peer group that they hang out with. This could also indicate that something is changing. Oftentimes, if their friends are vaping, then that increases the likelihood that your child will too. So who are your children hanging out with? Be on the lookout for unfamiliar objects around the house. Vaping devices come in all kinds of unique shapes and sizes. Some look like USB drives, some are like pipes, some look like electronic cigarettes, and most of them take rechargeable batteries. If you see unfamiliar batteries or charging devices around your home, that might make you curious about where they came from. The way that these companies market to teens is they get quite creative. They've even come out with hoodies where the strings of the hoodies are vaping devices as well. So be curious and be aware of what you see laying around the house. Also, be concerned about unusual smells that you might notice in your home. If you can't detect the source of a smell or where it's coming from, it's possible it could be coming from a vaping device. Always trust your instincts. You know your child better than anyone. If you're sensing that something is off or something is up, you're probably right. And ask your child about it.
So as parents, we do have those natural instincts. So trust your instincts. If you think something's going on, look into it deeper. Ask questions, observe behaviors, watch for sudden changes in your child's behaviors or change in friends, and be aware of unfamiliar smells, even if they smell good. So what if you do discover that your teen is vaping or using substances? Or maybe you already know they are. How do you talk to your teen about the concerns? Shannon's going to address that with us next.
So what can you do if you think your teen is vaping or has a vaping addiction? Talk to them. Have a conversation with them. not a lecture, but a conversation. That means that both of you are going to be talking, and hopefully your teen is doing most of the talking. This would indicate they feel comfortable opening up and sharing with you. Create space for them to talk. The conversation doesn't need to be long. It can happen incrementally, a little at a time. Sometimes our teens don't have the bandwidth to have long, drawn-out conversations, but a few minutes here and a few minutes there can get the point across and lead to more conversations. Also, look for the right timing. Sometimes it's scary if you approach your teen and say, hey, we need to talk. Make it natural. Maybe the conversation comes up when you see an ad for tobacco or vaping on TV, or maybe when you pass by a vaping store or see someone vaping. All of those incidents create a natural conversation. Starting a conversation with a question could be an easy route to go. You might ask your teen, how popular is vaping at your school? Do your friends vape? Have you ever considered vaping? Do you have any questions about vaping? One of the most important things to remember in your communication with your teens is not to criticize them and don't speak over them. Hear what they have to say, hear their opinion. Create a space where they can openly share with you and feel heard. Take time to hear their perspective and understand their motivation for vaping or their interest in vaping. The more you understand and listen to them, the more you can build trust with them. Keep in mind that your teen might not be vaping just to get a high or for the thrill of it. Oftentimes, vaping is a symptom of underlying issues your teen might be struggling with. When you take the time to really listen to them and understand, hopefully they'll share what's going on.
Take the time to listen and understand your child and their reasons for vaping. Get curious. It's the best approach to helping you understand vaping. Remember, having a conversation means both of you are talking. So be cautious not to turn it into a lecture, or they're going to put up their walls and not be receptive to what you're saying. So mainly be curious. Many teens overlook or they underestimate a key ingredient in the vapors that they inhale: nicotine. Nicotine can spell trouble at any stage of life, but it's particularly dangerous before the brain is fully developed, which happens around the age of 25. So here are a few more signs of addiction.
Some teens who vape may be able to stop on their own, and other teens may not. It may progress into addiction. So how do you know if your child has a vaping addiction? Here's some of the signs that you want to look for. Some of the signs that your teen may have a vaping addiction include if they feel anxious or irritable when they want to vape but can't. If thoughts about vaping interrupt when they are focused on other activities. If they continue to vape despite getting into trouble with parents or at school. If they have tried to stop vaping but couldn't. And if they feel like they've lost control over their vaping. All of those might be signs that your teen has a vaping addiction. If you think your teen does have a vaping addiction, it's possible that they might disagree with you. They might be in denial that some of those signs are present. Some things you can do in that situation are have your teen talk to other trusted adults, maybe a coach or a teacher that they admire, maybe a relative or a close family friend who is familiar with the harmful effects of vaping. Another idea might be to contact your child's doctor. The doctor could present some of the dangers of vaping, and having it come from a doctor may carry more weight with your teen. Another alternative is enroll your teen in a nicotine reduction or cessation group. Being with other teens who are struggling with the same thing that they're struggling with can help in reducing their vaping use. Also, you as the parent need support too. Parents can also join support groups. It is so healing and helpful to sit with other parents who are going through similar struggles like you are. Regardless of how mild or severe your teen's vaping use is, the important thing to remember is that it's treatable. There is hope. The earlier you take steps to treat your teen, the better.
Denial's normal. Teens who downplay the hazards is normal. However, the rise in popularity doesn't make it any safer. If you suspect that your child is addicted, contact your medical doctor, get them the help that they need. It's not a matter of just telling them to stop. Let's listen to some final thoughts from the therapist, things to keep in mind.
One thing to keep in mind as a parent, we want to do everything we possibly can do for our children to set them up for success. Something to consider, though, is agency. It's not just our will at play here, but it's also the will of our child. And we can't always go against that. If we force them to do something that they're unwilling to do, it can wreak havoc on the relationship, sometimes to the point of being irreparable. And it can cause great strain on the family too. In my own experience, my son was unwilling to stop his vaping. It did turn into vaping addiction. He has had health problems, but he doesn't vape in secret. He vapes in front of me. It's accepted that this is what he does and this is what he's chosen. And I love him and have a relationship with him in spite of the poor decisions that he's made. Always, above all, we need to love our teens and let them know.
So regardless of how you feel about your child's substance use, it's important to remember that they are your child, regardless of their choices, and that you love them. Creating a loving and supporting relationship with your child, and strive to keep the lines of communication open so that you can continue to be there for your child when they need you the most. So let's take a moment and Minty, share with us what is more natural for you. Are you more likely to not address the hard topics with your child? Do you have one big conversation with your child? Or are you constantly talking to them about the tough topics? Okay. Thank you. So our expert, Shannon Clausen, shares about the importance of frequently talking about the tough topics. And as we mentioned earlier, the younger you can start these conversations, the better. At the Cook Center for Human Connection, we're driven by the mission of bringing together resources that have demonstrated effectiveness in creating the human connections that are so vital for strong mental wellness. One of these resources is parentguidance.org. It is a free resource backed by therapists who share different courses for parents on mental health topics. You should have a link on your phone in Menti if you'd like to explore it further. We're going to give you a little guided tour. So parentguidance.org is available in both English and Spanish. You can toggle it right here. So there are also 3 different areas across the top that I'm going to go over with you. The first one is called parent coaching. We know that being a parent is tough, and our coaches give parents confidence, structure, and ideas to tackle the tough topics. Your participation in coaching is completely HIPAA protected. Coaches are kind of like your virtual parenting assistant. They're working together. You can get advice and day-to-day suggestions to help your child thrive. Our coaches have the expertise to walk you through even the toughest parenting challenges that arise. Plus, the coaches use an app with learning modules to help walk you through topics like grief, anxiety, depression, and the basics of parenting, just to name a few. Your coach will provide you with ideas and pathways to help you reach your child. You will connect virtually one-on-one with your coach weekly, but you can also text or email anytime and receive a response from your coach within 24 to 48 hours. And the best part, this is at no cost to you due to the partnership between your district and parentguidance.org. Not every district that we work with actually offers the parent guidance, so you guys are very lucky. I wish I'd had it when I was raising my children. So getting matched with the coach starts with a simple 1.5-minute questionnaire. Once you fill out the questionnaire, you'll be matched with the coach within 48 hours, and then you can start working through your questions. The next area is our on-demand courses. We offer over 50 courses in this section. They're all taught by a licensed therapist. Each course can be taken at your own pace, and the courses are anywhere from about 15 minutes to an hour long. Each course has a summary and a video trailer so that you can see what the course is about, as well as a brief bio of the author. Because our courses are broken into segments, you can start and stop a course anytime and then pick up right where you left off. You can be enrolled in as many courses at the same time as you would like. And the course topics include child development and parenting, other topics like bullying and why our children self-harm, and it's also some self-help courses. And our last section is Ask a Therapist. We heard a little bit about this in our video. That's what Dr. Skinner was going over. So if you have any questions that you want answers to right now, check out Ask a Therapist. This area is made up of commonly asked questions from parents on various topics. The parents have submitted their questions, and you can submit yours right here. The parent questions on this page have been reviewed by a therapist and responded through a video response, along with a written transcription, so you can choose to either read or watch the video response. So if you'd like to register for coaching, you can scan the QR code on the screen, and that will get you started. So what are a few things that you might remember from today's conversation? Is there something that you learned that you'd be willing to share with others? We all have things that speak to us. Perhaps you can share something that will benefit someone else today.
I think I'll say while we're waiting for responses, I believe that I think what I'll take away is that it's common, like these commonly used devices. Yeah. The same thing that the person, yeah.
Yes.
It's like, whoa.
Right. I think if I'd seen my sons the first time before I even knew what it was, I would have thought it was like a jump drive or something. So, goodness. So,
And
okay.
highlighters and
Yes,
like even with the hoodies, and all the kids have the hoodies, and so you don't even think
exactly.
of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that response. And yes, it's just amazing. All right. Our next session will be about building your child's confidence. It'll be April 25th from 6 to 7. You can scan that QR code as well if you would like to get registered. or you can register in Minty if you'd like to do that as well. Once you are registered, you will receive a reminder for the session. And again, if you are registered for the session, the recording will be emailed to you a couple days after the event. I'd like to thank you guys so much for participating tonight, and want to thank your administrators for making our partnership possible and offering these valuable resources to families. Thank you for making time in your busy schedule to be here with us. The Cook Center for Human Connection and Parent Guidance are dedicated to helping parents support their children's well-being. We appreciate your involvement in making this connection happen, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys for joining us this evening. So I'll go ahead and close us out. So thanks everyone again for joining us on tonight's Zoom. We appreciate your participation. Each week you are available to connect with us. Same time, same place for more informative information sessions just like these and presentations. Again, I am Tina Folston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Alachua County Public Schools, Educational Equity and Outreach. And I look forward to seeing you back here next Thursday. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much as always. Have a good night.